Well, we were set up by my aunt, Cindy, and his sister, Michelle. They were coaching, I think it was volleyball together through the kids' church program. And they both were like, well, I have somebody who's single and you have somebody who's single. Let's ask them if they want to go on a date. And so we met at a restaurant in Mason.
I mean, I guess basically on the first date I told her, I said, I am looking for a courtship. I'm not looking for a friend. Like, if you're not interested in trying to find somebody to pursue for marriage, then we can bounce, because I'm not, I'm ready to find somebody to settle down with. And then on our third date, because her aunt was teasing us after our third date, we had to get married. She was planning our wedding. So on our third date, as a joke, we went to look at rings, engagement rings, for a date idea. And she put one ring on, and as soon as she put the ring on her finger, I knew at that moment that I was going to marry her and spend the rest of my life with her. And she didn't know till later that the very next day, I went back and bought that exact ring to use to propose with her. So we just kind of been together ever since. So we met in February, married in October.
Yeah, we planned a wedding in 6 months. We decided shortly after our honeymoon that we wanted to start trying for a family. So I figured I'd have some trouble just because my mom had trouble getting pregnant with myself and my brother. So I just figured I better go check with my doctor first and find out what the best steps would be to start a family. And so about a year of working with a fertility specialist and going through those procedures and ultrasounds after ultrasounds and x-rays, he finally said, well, between his issues and your issues, the likelihood that you would get pregnant without medical intervention would be pretty much 0%. I was exhausted through going through all that stuff, and Mike was tired of seeing me suffer physically and mentally. We just decided, it's in God's hands now, and we'll either foster or we'll adopt. And so the next 2 years after that was praying on what our next steps would be. A lot of prayer. Like, what should we do? Should we foster? Do we have the heart to foster, to take on children and then have to work with families to give the children back? Are we strong enough to do that? Or should we just go adopt? And adoption is really expensive. And so it was a lot of back and forth for 2 years.
There's some disappointment, you want to be a father. But, just learning to deal with whatever God's plan was for us to have a family, that's what it was going to be. And if we were going to have our own child, then that would be awesome if God would allow us to experience, parenthood and be parents and care for a child. And
like I said, a lot of prayer on what was the next step, and I'm not going to say it wasn't like disheartening when there's so many people around us that were having babies and trying to be excited for them and happy for them, but at the same time, like, what's going to happen for us? New Year's weekend, 2021, I was not feeling good, not feeling myself. I was nauseous, lightheaded. I couldn't catch my breath, and normally that's not an issue. But for some reason on Sunday night, I had walked up the stairs from our basement into our living room, and I'm like, this is it. I've got to go in. I've either got to go to urgent care or I've got to go to the emergency. And I opted for Sparrow Emergency because I was like, well, it's shortness of breath. So go into the emergency, because what's urgent care really going to do? So I get to the hospital. They won't let him come back because they think it's COVID. I'm like, well, it's probably COVID. Well, I was expecting them to come back and say, well, you have COVID. I wasn't expecting anything with a blood clot. But I was not expecting them to say, we tested your hormones and the pregnancy test came back positive. I basically looked at the doctor and I was like, you're lying to me. This is not supposed to happen. There's got to be some mistake. I was just kind of stunned. I didn't know what to say. I was like, I just thought to myself, okay, well, we'll wait. If he does this ultrasound, I don't believe it until I see it. He comes back with the ultrasound and he goes, see this little flicker on the screen? That's the heartbeat. And I was like, okay, this is real. I was like, okay. I left the hospital with a baby.
Hold on. Sorry.
It's okay.
Well, I guess I don't know how I felt at first because it's still hard to process that it's real when they tell you that it's never going to happen. It's pretty amazing and surreal that I prayed for a girl, and because I helped raise a friend's daughter for like 4 years when she was little, and I was like, I really would like to experience the whole, life cycle with a baby girl, and God really does answer prayers especially when you don't expect it, because I never expected it to be answered. And then we had friends and family praying for a long time for us to have a baby too, and now she's here and happy and healthy, and it's tiring and fun at the same time. So, just be faithful. If you're praying for it and it's not coming when you think it's supposed to be there, just know that He will answer in His time, because it definitely okay. I only have one more thing to say. So He's very faithful. Just keep praying for what you think it is that God's will is, and He will answer in His time, because she definitely came when we were ready and not when we thought we were ready. When we were actually able to take care of her, and we had a good place for her to live and provide.
Thank you. Bless you.